So my name is Dr. Idoko. I am the program leader for prosperity, innovation, and entrepreneurship at UCL's Institute for Global Prosperity. I'm also a lecturer in PI, and my research really is at the intersection of creativity and affect, so emotions. I'm very interested in the role of emotions in the creative process. I'm also very interested in business models and they how they emerge.
So my name is Dr. Toivonen. I'm a reader in regenerative creativity at Central St. Martin's within the University of the Arts, London. And my research has its roots in sociology and organizational science, but I'm particularly interested in how interactions drive the creative journey forward, especially interactions between humans and also those between humans and non-human living beings. So very interested in processes of regenerative creativity going forward. So Creative Jolts is a concept that really emerged from this longitudinal study of several entrepreneurs we traced and followed for a period of about 1 year in London a couple of years back. We noticed that there were certain points along their journey when they felt intense emotional strain and they were at their wits' end. They felt that their business was disintegrating, was hitting a wall, or had been done by somebody else, or just couldn't go forward. There was no way for it to thrive and grow. We then tried to inquire into those moments further and found that almost all of the entrepreneurs in our sample had something like that as part of their experience. And we found that these were significant moments in terms of these entrepreneurs learning how to let go of their dearly held ideas.
When someone who is a credible source or a high status person tells you you have nothing, it's like the floor collapses under you, and it's a highly emotional, tumultuous experience, if I can use that word. When the trigger feedback hits, we found that the two things that happened, you find that either the feedback is directed at the idea, the core of the idea, or it's directed at the mission of the idea. Whether it's directed at the core or the mission, there's a shattering of assumptions. So the mental model, the way that they thought the idea was or the world works, is completely shattered. And so they're going through this process. At first, they try to disconfirm or confirm the trigger feedback by reaching out and even reaching in. So some of them engage in introspection more, and some of them reach out to other entrepreneurs to try to disconfirm this trigger feedback. And when they find that actually it's true, they can't make the business work. They slowly begin to let go of the idea. They sort of begin to accept the demise of the idea. For me, the most exciting thing was that resolution phase. How they came up, how they arrived at the resolution, and seeing their emotions change, go up again. I think that for me was really exciting, because I saw different sort of ideas birth. It was uniquely, it stood out from the previous idea.
It's very difficult to say that we should recommend jolts as a practice. So let's say a supervisor trying to jolt their employee or their teammate. You have to be very careful with those kinds of suggestions. However, I do believe that there is a very kind of health promoting role that jolts can play, and namely that is this function through which they release us. They release us from fixations, or they help us get unstuck. When we are overly committed to a project or an idea, or maybe it could be a relationship with a teammate, for instance. The jolts can kind of awaken us and force us to come to grips with the realities of that situation. So they force us to sort of take another look, a more critical look at what is happening, and then obviously through our own leadership and through our own decision making, we may then choose to be liberated from that, to move on to something more productive, maybe in a different industry, or moving from B2B to B2C, or finding new core teammates, for instance. So they have this liberating potential, which is not a comfortable process really, but it is a necessary one along many creative journeys.
So it requires or calls for more research into this opening that Jolts actually leads to, and it would be interesting to see what future studies will do with that in terms of, for example, what would that look like within an organization where you have certain systems and structures in place. What would that look like in perhaps even at a macro level? So if we sort of bring it quite close and you think about COVID and you hear people say, let's build back better, how would creating these openings lead to new ideas within from a macro level, at a firm level, and even at the individual level?